Today, it's Edwin's Monday evening property rant. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to the latest post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Another Monday, and so of course Edwin is with me. Hi Edwin, how you doing?
G'day, Martin. It's blisters, splinters, and crushed fingers at the moment.
Yeah, well, you know, you've got to do something with all this lockdown, right? But my guess is prices are going through the roof, right?
Well, that's right. Look, Dusty, Evan, and myself, we're hard at work here. We've got to do these renovations. We're losing tradespeople because of the COVID, the vaccine mandates and so forth. So we really are losing tradespeople all over Sydney, and so we just got to be careful with that. So knowing that we were going to lose tradespeople and that prices are going to go through the roof with regards to labour costs as well as material costs, we decided, you know what, we better get these renovations up and going and working 24/7 Sundays, and so it's got blisters, splinters, and crushed fingers, and Dusty and Evan, they've got splinters on their paws, and they're on strike.
Oh, very good. Well, it's very interesting, of course, because this isn't just a phenomenon impacting you, but it's impacting pretty much all building and construction across the country. But also in the US as well, there was an interesting report that came out a couple of days ago from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that showed actually just how much different categories of costs for construction have got up in the US, and some categories, you know, remarkably high in a relatively short period of time. So this is a global thing that we're dealing with here.
Well, that's right. And as we mentioned a few weeks ago, I did say, and I did warn the people needing to do bathroom renovations, you better get them going and you better get them started straight away, because by the middle of this month, my understanding is that Reece plumbing supplies are going to increase the cost of a lot of the plumbing materials by up to 150%, Martin. That's a hell of a hell of a boost in prices. But again, I go back to labour costs. We find that a lot of companies, and predominantly companies from the makeup is of Asian background. A lot of they're off-siders or the labourers, they don't have them on hand, and the ones that did have them on hand, the labourers and that did get, are still here, are still around, working incognito. Now there's a lot more pressure on them to even turn up to work sites, because you've got to register, and if you don't register on a work site, the individual is fined up to $2,000, and the company or the tradesperson is fined $5,000 per person. So that's putting a lot of pressure on the costs of construction and renovation. So I've got to be careful with our clients as to what we do and how we buy property now. Like we mentioned, we've been mentioning for the last few weeks. It's as much as I love those somewhat renovators delights, I've got to be extra careful to work out what the cost would be moving forward, because you could be living in a house that won't be renovated for the next year, and who knows, could even be 2 years, Martin, because I know the construction industry is under a lot of pressure all around. So I think it's going to get to a point where in some cases where you're paying $45 an hour for a tradesperson, or 60, up to 65, I can really see that going double, if not in some cases triple, if you need work done urgently.
Well, it's already seeing it down here. So in the Illawarra, emergency work has gone more than $100 an hour. You know, it's happened already. And if you want an electrician or a plumber, you're going to be paying more than that.
Yeah, well, that's right. And then you've got the shortage of materials, like we've been saying all along. So it's really becoming hard. I mean, as much as I, muck around on Twitter and post some silly stuff on there, look, I started storing timber for the renovations a while back, and although we ordered some almost 2 months ago, some of the timber for the renovation, particularly the areas where one of the studios was attacked by termites, and we got engineered timber to go down in, as opposed to your your 4B2s or your treated pine that you can't get anyway. So I started storing that and buying as much as I can in bulk, knowing we were going to be where we are right now. But then again, we've been warning, you and I have been saying this for over 6 months, and we've been warning the industry, and we knew that this was going to happen, it was going to come. What a lot of people haven't factored into, and a lot of the articles that will be discussing haven't factored into, is this new rollout of the vaccine and the vaccine mandates and the restrictions around that. They really haven't factored that in, because it's unlike 2020. It's totally different. The restrictions that are on the construction industry now, and I feel sorry for those poor bastards that haven't even started building the homes that they lined up for, 100 deep, to take advantage of the government subsidies. But then again, back then, Martin, you and I were warning the people, be careful, because just because you can put a deposit down doesn't mean that you're gonna see it for, in the next 12 and who knows, 24, maybe even 36 months on.
Well, no, we did say absolutely. And, the government's poured in $3 billion into the construction sector and pulled a lot of demand forward, and they can't now deliver. And I was doing some work in Western Australia the other day, looking at some of the properties over there, and you can just look around and you see these half-finished places all over the place where they can't finish them because they can't get the parts. People can't move in. Those homeland packages that look so cheap now look very expensive. No, this is a wreck. This is an absolute wreck, and I'm afraid that if people who weren't listening to us earlier on will have missed the boat.
Yeah, well, that's right. And look at the other side of the coin, Martin, with all that. In the good times, there's shenanigans going around. And one of our followers, missed their, forgot the name on Twitter, his Twitter handle. He posted a great article in the southeast part of Queensland, where in the Gold Coast, where some of the dwellings are subsiding. They're just only being built. They're literally coming into each other's backyard now because of the bad backfill and the engineering works, the compacting and all the engineering works that you obviously have to take care of. Now, if that's happened in the good times, because these homes weren't built in the bad times under COVID, if they were built prior, they were built in 2019. So if that's the aftermath of building in the good times, what can we expect of the properties that have been built in 2020 and in 2021 when there's a shortage of materials? That is the big unknown, and that is the one of the things that I say to our clients is we've got to be careful, and we've been saying for the last 18 months, we've got to be careful as to how these renovations are being done, because a lot of them are just being fixed up quickly and patched up quickly in order to spruce them up to put them on the market, and it's buyers beware. And unfortunately, as you and I keep on talking over and over again, they are convinced, and the selling agents convince them to believe totally on the building and pest reports given to them. And now more than ever, you just need to be extra careful with what you buy, where you buy, and how you buy.
Absolutely. Well, there was a very interesting article over the weekend that was in some of the News Corp papers, and it was talking about the spruiking in the property sector, specifically relating to the high-power sales agents that are actually working not in the real estate industry directly, but actually as sales agents for the developers, right? And it's interesting because basically this article highlighted that, one, there's no regulation, so they can say anything. They can, claim whatever they want. It doesn't actually have the same regulatory force as those working directly in the real estate sector. And two, they can make absolutely outlandish claims for, the future rental returns, et cetera, and they're not breaking the law.
No, there's no recourse. No. There's no recourse because you don't have some lawyers have always spoken to me and said to me jokingly, if they didn't have a practicing certificate, they could get away with a lot more shit than what they do already. Let alone professions and people that hold licenses, because you're bound to regulations, and you're bound to law and acts that govern the regulation. So if you don't have a license, or you don't have a practicing certificate, you can say whatever you want, and you can't get sued.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And that, unfortunately, people again are getting deceived, and they're piling in and buying these, these high-rise construction projects for all the reasons that don't make any sense at all, and they're just swallowing it whole, and they've got no recourse subsequent. And again, we sound like a broken record here, but you've got to do the work. You've got to really check all this out. Don't just take a spruiker's word for them. But the fact is, those working directly for the construction sector, the salespeople there, are telling the biggest porkers of them all.
That's correct. But not only that, Martin, you also got to look a little bit further afield, or a little bit 1 degree to the left, and that is that the biggest culprits, and I've been very vocal about this for the last 15 years, and that is the financial sector as well. You've got accountants that people totally rely on. You've got financial planners that they totally rely on and believe, and that everything they say is gospel, as well as some mortgage brokers that are attached to marketing or spruiking property companies. So and ABC put out an article a few years back where I spoke, and I said gave my 2 bobs worth with regards to what the financial planners, accountants and mortgage brokers would say and would do, and how they would rope people in to buy properties off the plan with self-managed super funds, when they only had 50 to 60, at most 120,000 in the self-managed super scheme, and now they'll be well and truly underwater, and they'd be because they've had no tenants. So it's incredible. So and again, like I said, there's no recourse. They're the people that moonlight as real estate agents, by the evening, or because that's when they hold the properties spruiking someone else.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's right. So, all we can say is be cautious, be careful, do the work, and don't swallow it whole. Now, talking about interesting stories, though, the WeChat chatters have been chatting away, haven't they?
Oh, they've been really busy. Dusty and Evan have been working. They've been hard at it, Martin. No rest for the wicked. During the day, they hammer and sweep the floors, because I tell them a good construction site or a good work site is a clean site. So, half an hour before they knock off for the day, they have to sweep the floors and make sure they've got all the materials ready for the next day for the tradespeople, so we won't lose time. So after that, they have to bath and then get behind the computer. So start seeing what's happening on WeChat. It's rather interesting that there's a little bit of a panic with the officials in China at the moment, as more manufacturing companies are folding, because they can't keep up with the costs of materials. The raw materials there in China have also increased in price. The cost of labor, and they also have similar restrictions to what we have with regards to who can work and who can't work. So these poor bastards, they're closing up. So obviously they're unable to fulfill the orders for Christmas. So, here's my first tip for our video, Martin, and that is that if you're going to be buying Christmas presents for your loved ones, that's if you get to see your loved ones at the end of the year, if our premiers let us see our families, you better start making those orders now, because there won't be many available by Christmas, because there's they're just too many businesses, small to medium enterprises manufacturing companies over in China, they're closing down. So there's a bit of a panic situation there.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and interestingly, of course, Edwin, we seem to be very focused on, wearing masks or not wearing masks, etc., etc. But over in China, I think they're taking advantage.
Look, they are, Martin. At the moment, China have called in the marker on Sri Lanka, Martin, as as Dusty and Evan told me, they've called in the marker on Sri Lanka, and basically Sri Lanka has got to stump up, and now they're going to set up a port in Sri Lanka, and they've got a 99-year lease on a piece of foreshore there in order to build a port. So there you go. There's China. In the meantime, we're having disputes over whether we wear masks or whether we don't wear masks. Do you wear your mask over your mouth and over your nose, or just over your nose? Personally, I prefer to wear a mask over my eyes so that way they don't see me coming or going. And there's also the gender fluidity. So in the meantime, China's taken advantage and buying all the mines of lithium and getting into the lithium, and also cranking up the mines over in Africa. So go figure. Whilst the Western world plays silly buggers, China are out there literally conquering the world.
Yeah, and interestingly, of course, they're also putting downward pressure on the iron ore price, right, which was way, way high a few months ago. It's now continuing to slide, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of economies, including, of course, our own.
Well, we told the people that what they were already doing, at the beginning of the 2020 end quarter, we told them and we warned them, Martin.
Yep.
We warned them. The WeChat chatter said that they were going to start cranking up the mining interest. That China was going to start cranking up the mining interest in Africa, and also they kicked one of the biggest mining companies out of Indonesia. That was the Aussie ownership. They basically turfed them out and realigned themselves directly with Indonesia, and we are where we are now. So we're going to struggle.
Absolutely. Well, talking of struggling, your first article is really interesting, right? Because it's basically saying construction sector, watch out for next year.
Well, that's it. And one of the main things when I was reading the article look, they're looking obviously retrospectively as to what's happened over the last 18 months. But moving forward, I think they haven't really taken into account what's going to happen moving forward. As I've been saying, we've been busy doing the renovations, because we know that labourers' costs or tradespersons' fees could potentially triple. The hourly rate could triple because they're going to be more scarce. Obviously, for personal reasons, I've been hearing stories of some older tradies in their 60s. They basically were working because they didn't want to be at home with the missus all day, and they wanted to go out and and now they're just saying, well, I'm just going to go buy a boat and go fishing every other day, because they were really only working because they've just been so used to working since the late teens, since they got an apprenticeship, and that's just been now they've got a reason not to work because they don't want to get jabbed. So you've got to take into account potentially 20% of tradespeople aren't going to get the jab, and therefore they're not going to be accepted on work sites. People aren't going to be accepting them at homes, and so this is another interesting cog that's going to be turning, and it's going to be determining what's going to happen moving forward. So the article once again doesn't bring the latest vaccine mandates into play. So if they're reporting on what's happened previously to all this, these current situations that we're in with regards to the vaccine mandates and the restrictions, how much more worse is it going to get before the end of the year? But then again, Martin, we said at the beginning of this year, if you thought 2020 was bad, put your head down, tail up, work hard 2021, because 2022 is going to be the motherlode.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just add into that, construction prices going through the roof, as we discussed earlier on, the stupidity in terms of that government incentive program that pulled a lot of work forward without having thought through how they're going to actually provide the resources to do it. So, yeah. And interestingly, of course, the high-rise sector is still absolutely taking a bath, right? I was looking at some data recently, and whilst everybody's been talking about how the property market's booming, it's not booming everywhere. High-rise sales are still off. Discounting is very, very deep at the moment. And in some cases, they're still trying to get people to buy these high-rise apartments by underwriting rental repayments and returns for 2, 3, 4 years. That's financially extremely worrying for those organizations, right? I just think, as you say, next year it's going to be interesting.
Oh, it's going to be it's going to be the motherlode of all to come down. But the other thing is, Martin, is the incentives being thrown at the apartments in certain areas, and particularly the high rise. We're also get international news. There was a video doing the rounds over the weekend where there was an apartment in China that was literally on fire. It looked like a volcano had just erupted in the stairwell, but it was all the cladding on the outside that was burning. I don't know exactly. Dusty and Edwin are still doing some research on that to find out exactly what happened in that building. But it was absolutely catastrophic. Just watching from about halfway up the building all the way to the top, it was just on. It looked like a candlestick in the middle of the city, lighting up 3-4 blocks around it. It was incredible. So there's going to be a lot more issues that we know locally. There's been a lot of discussions around, and there's a lot more. But obviously what's captured our attention right now is all these mandates and all these lockdowns and what we're doing. But in the meantime, underneath it all, as you say, there's a lot of pressure on high rise. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. What would be interesting, Martin, is for us to have another discussion with Louis Christopher and see what what he sees in terms of the asking prices and specifically 2 apartments as opposed to homes, and just we could just sort of drill down on apartments. And as you know, one of my friends has got being a manager in one of the biggest spruiking companies, Asian spruiking companies in Sydney, and they've got 2,500 apartments for sale, but they only list 200 of them online.
Yeah, good idea with Louis. We might see whether we can get him back on down the track. But now, in terms of other good ideas, we're going to help Gladys out now, aren't we? Because she's talking about, well, maybe we should open up football fields to get more vaccines rolled out. But you've got a much better plan.
Look, it's why don't we get the REI New South Wales, particularly my mate, the CEO, to propose that we set up vaccine hubs outside open home inspections. Mobile vaccine vans. Like the old Mr. Whippy. They used to come around, ringing the bell. Except we do it at open for inspections in the eastern suburbs or somewhere where we know it's. But now, look, I tell you what we do. We do it at a house that we know it's being underquoted by about 25 to 30%. Because that draws a crowd for sure, and it's typically around at the moment I'm seeing a lot of that in the northwest region. So look, there's one, I reckon, and if you're going to go in for the open, if you're going to inspect the property, you get the job. Second, obviously we're sort of Victoria have already beaten us to it, but I think the Ripper is setting up the vaccine hubs at Bunnings, but we go a step further. And we give the participants a sausage sizzle on the way through.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think Bunnings is meant to be click and collect now here, but who knows? But no, it is very interesting. Of course, they clarified over the last few days that, of course, property investors are still able to go and look at properties, right? Despite all the lockdowns, despite all the restrictions, property investors can still go look.
And look, as I said, you only have to you only have to say that you're looking for the you're going to be looking for at a property that's yeah, because you're looking at living in it. Who's to be the wiser? How many questions can the authorities ask you on your way through? You just got to be prepared with, with the links, with print out some of the stuff before you go, and just keep it handy. You've just got to prepare yourself in order to get around. But I mean, so there's so many loopholes in all these things. But then again, uh, you know, we look, cynically, we look at loopholes, and we try to, we talk about the silliness, and what you can do, what you can get away with, in a cheeky way. But look at what the politicians are getting away with. And they don't even have to look at it cynically. They don't even have to do it cheekily. They do it in your face. They basically, give us the middle finger and say, well, it's a rule for thee, but not for me.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I keep getting cross about. Whereas you see, here's the rules for everybody, apart from, certain particular groups who seem to be able to just go about their business as if nothing at all was happening. It just is not fair. It's not right. And I do actually have a view that, there's more severe lockdowns in some areas of Sydney compared with other places, just tips the gap, makes it even wider between those and others. This whole strategy, in my mind, is gone off the rails. And if you want to talk about going off the rails, what about the non-urgent private surgeries to cease in hospitals too, just to add insult to injury?
Well, that's right. But then again, that was one of our tips a month or two ago. And that was because once again we could see that he was going to come. It's a replay of what happened in 2020. Yep. But a lot of people seem to have forgotten. Nonetheless, these lockdowns are obviously, how can I put it? They're all over. They're being all over the shop. At least last year, you knew what we more or less knew what we were doing, what we had to do, what you could do and you couldn't do, and it was a straight lockdown. And there was, there was moratoriums on, there were eviction moratoriums. There were, all these things in order to assist people, in order to lock down hard and deal with the issue at hand. But now being all over the place. Push here, a shove there, a pull here, chatter here, chatter there. So now, but look, a few months ago we said, or a couple of months ago we said that that was one of our tips: get things done. And again, and you've still got a window of opportunity, I feel, to look at your, get something done with your optics, go and see your optometrist, your dentist. And for those aficionados in plastic fillers and Botox, well, I reckon there's going to be there'll be a lot more restrictions around that as well. So get all these things done before it gets harder, particularly if you're inclined not to be vaccinated. It's traveling and entering and attending certain areas, certain parts. It's going to be a mess. It is really going to be a mess. And in order to avoid all that, get it done now before it gets messy.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, if you've been double jabbed, in a couple of weeks' time, you can go and have a picnic with 4 other people. Whoopee!
Yeah, but you still have to be covered up, don't you? But then look, Martin, look at the we seem to be looking at the bad side of things. But look, we can still go to a house of the ladies of the evening. As long as we're wearing a mask, we're okay. So
okay.
Hey, look,
I must have missed that in all of the changes in the regulations, Edwin.
This is what I mean, man. It's so farcical. Yeah, or if you can, you put $100,000 deposit somewhere. I'm sure that they'll come up with some sort of a banking system where if you put a $50,000 bond, or $100,000 bond, you can enter these places. And then if you do get COVID, if you do get sick and you end up in hospital on a ventilator, well, they'll tap into that bond. It's no different to the bonds that people have to put up for security bonds that they have to put up when they're sponsoring family over from overseas. I reckon we're going to have a COVID bond. There you go. See, we are breaking new ground, Martin. COVID
Yeah,
bond.
absolutely. Well, I hope Lois is watching. There's a few ideas there. So, what's your tip for the week then, Edwin, with all of this, confusion and mayhem going on at the moment?
Look, I think the tip of the week has got to be prepare for future disruptions. Look, and you and I, although we say jokingly, can he get any worse? I mean, look at what's happening now with Afghanistan and everything else. I mean, I think there's going to be another war happening there sooner than later. But look, um, yeah, I don't want to be, I don't want to come across as being a doomsayer, but I mean, seriously, all we need now is a natural catastrophe, don't we? To put the icing on the cake. It seems that way, but I think things are going to get worse, not because of what's going to happen, whether it be a natural catastrophe or be a war and with Thailand and whatever else, and wherever else in Afghanistan, wherever we could talk about, not because that, but because of the government, the way the government is going to handle the way things are going to be rolled out, because there's going to be further disruptions with goods and with goods, services are going to go through the roof. So what's going to happen moving forward? When you can't get certain goods, you can't get your with ladies, I mean, your sanitary products that are mainly coming from overseas as well. All these essential goods that we use day in, day out, that we've taken for granted for so long, and we don't realize that they are no longer manufactured here in Australia. And if they are manufactured here in Australia, the raw materials have been imported from China. Yep. So we're going to have all these disruptions. How are we going to handle all that? So my tip, again, is prepare, declutter, get rid of get rid of the shit, the bad shit, get rid of it, make room, and stock up and store up. And I don't want to sound like one of those preppers from America, but that's something that we have to consider now, because moving around, no, even if you're vaxxed or not vaxxed, if they don't have it on the shelf. I mean, when we ordered food through Coles, we didn't get delivery of the meat, we didn't get delivery of bread, we didn't get delivery of the eggs, we didn't get delivery of other items, and Dusty and Evan were pissed. So I had to do a midnight run, the old midnight runs. I had to drive here, drive there, drive everywhere, incognito, all covered up, masked up, and sunglasses on, and so as I can go a little bit outside of the area in order to get them food, because I couldn't get delivery of their food.
Yeah, well, I wonder whether those carrots that you were thinking of planting might come into their own yet, right? That's why.
Well, the problem right now at the moment is, Martin, that as I said, I've been busy with the renovations and particularly with the bathrooms and the and dealing with one of the studios that just had to because it was just gonna, I could just see it now that it was gonna cost me, in terms of labor and tradespeople and materials. I could see that the cost was gonna double, if not go above what I had budgeted for. So I have to get cracking on that. So unfortunately, I am back to paying $4.99 for a kilo of carrots. I just have to make do with it, man.
Well, just remember that you can't eat PVC pipes, but you can eat carrots.
Well, yeah, that's right. Well, look, the good thing is that I'm learning to eat gum leaves. If koalas can survive on gum leaves, I've got a lot of gum trees around.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to think of some new recipes with gum leaves. Edwin, as always, very provocative, very thought-provoking, but, the message is absolutely right. We can't assume that things are going to flip back to normal in the next couple of months, right? That we're in for the long haul here. Things are going to remain very, very complex and very difficult for quite some time. And, again, to leave us back on property, people are still making dumb decisions with regard to property purchases. They're being spooked into it. They're paying over the odds. They're not doing the work. And unfortunately, once all of the noise and fury has passed, they'll be left with property that is not up for what they thought it was. They'll have paid too much. And unfortunately, that's going to affect them not just for a few months or, a year or two, but down the track. So folks, don't go shortcutting when you think about buying property. Do the work, do the analysis, and make quite sure that you know what you're getting into.
Oh, look, absolutely, 100%, Martin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot through some videos of some of the inspections that I've done in the last 2 weeks, where the agents have told me the properties are 110%, and they look great on the surface. But I'll send you some videos that we can put up next week, Martin, with regards to what I found with my my little tools and tricks that I do to find out what's happening behind those makeshift renovations that aren't in the building and pest reports.
I look forward to seeing those videos next week and sharing with our audience, Edwin, as always. And thanks very much for your time tonight, and get back to work.
Well, Dusty and Evan, they're already out. They're on the Kango at the moment, breaking the concrete because we got to get that PVC down.
All right. Good luck. See you next week. Take care.
All the best, mate.
Bye.